A blueprint for a city was carved into a hillside over 11,000 years ago. These are the lost city blueprints, humanity's first megaprojects, and they hold secrets about our deepest drives to build and create. By the end of this, you will see history not as a series of accidents, but as a story of deliberate, world-changing plans. What compelled prehistoric hunter-gatherers to erect colossal stone pillars, and why does a city with perfect sewers from 4,000 years ago still baffle engineers today? This journey uncovers the hidden designs behind legendary sites like Göbekli Tepe and Mohenjo-Daro, revealing the astronomical codes and communal efforts that brought these stone dreams to life. What does our own ambition to reshape the world share with the very first architects? From high above, the Andes reveal a sprawling web of stone paths and stepped platforms, a design so vast it can only be understood from the air. This is not a single monument but an entire infrastructure, the lifeblood of an empire. An ancient megaproject was far more than a pyramid or a temple. It was a coordinated, large-scale construction demanding advanced planning, immense resource management, and a massive, organized labor force, all directed toward a complex societal goal. Archaeologist Dr. Monica Smith offers a powerful comparison, suggesting the first cities were the ultimate startup ventures, requiring a business plan etched directly into the landscape itself. To grasp this, we must look at the core components. First, a centralized design, a master plan that guided every step. Second, the long-term allocation of resources, moving stone, wood, and food across great distances for years, even generations. And third, a profound purpose that served the community's deepest needs, whether for religious ceremony, administrative control, or collective defense. These endeavors were not merely engineering feats. They were profound statements of political power, cultural identity, and cosmological belief. Consider the Nazca lines in Peru. From the ground, they are mysterious grooves in the desert floor, but from above, they transform into immense depictions of animals and geometric forms. This was a megaproject of art and ritual, a massive investment of labor and planning into a creation that was, for the people who made it, intended for an audience of deities in the sky. What does it say about a society that would commit generations to a work only the gods could fully see? This foundational drive to imprint order and meaning onto the world leads us back to the very beginning, to the first time this ambition stirred in the human spirit. 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent, a quiet revolution began with a simple, powerful idea: surplus. For the first time, a community could produce more food than it needed for immediate survival. This extra grain, these extra hours not spent hunting, unlocked a new kind of human potential. The very first megaprojects were born from this fundamental shift. The Neolithic Revolution, with the domestication of plants and animals, allowed people to settle in one place. Populations grew, and societies began to stratify, creating a perfect storm of conditions. A concentrated labor force was now available. A ruling class emerged with the authority to command that labor, and a shared ideology, a common belief system, arose to justify the immense collective effort. These monumental constructions did not appear randomly. They often emerged in regions of both great opportunity and great challenge, in resource-rich valleys with unpredictable rivers, or in arid lands where water was life itself. Megaprojects became the ultimate tool for survival and control. Consider the earliest levees and irrigation canals in Mesopotamia. These were not just simple ditches. They were massive, coordinated earthworks, humanity's first attempts to tame wild rivers and command the flow of water itself. They were solutions to existential problems, yes, but they were also something more. They were proclamations of human dominion over a chaotic natural world. So why did the path of ambition diverge? Why did one society pour its energy into a towering ziggurat that scraped the sky, while another focused its efforts on a hidden, subterranean network of water channels? The answer is etched into the unique pressures and profound beliefs that define their existence. The specific challenges a community faced and the gods they worshipped directly shaped the blueprints they drew upon the earth. To understand this connection between belief and blueprint, we must turn to a site that stands as a profound mystery, a place where the stones themselves whisper of a forgotten purpose. Rising from the Turkish plains, the stone circles of Göbekli Tepe present a puzzle that upends our entire story of human progress. Here, on a windswept hill, hunter-gatherers carved and erected 20-ton pillars into precise rings over 11,000 years ago. These people had no pottery, no domesticated animals, and no farms. Yet they possessed a vision grand enough to mobilize hundreds of workers for generations. The conventional timeline insists that agriculture came first, providing the food surplus needed for complex society to emerge. But Göbekli Tepe flips this script entirely. It suggests that the human drive to come together for a monumental, spiritual purpose may have been the very catalyst that forced agriculture into existence. To feed the people building this stone sanctuary, society had to learn how to cultivate grains and settle down. The blueprint was not sketched on any surface. It was held in the collective memory of a people, a sophisticated plan encoded with celestial alignments and geometric principles. Each T-shaped pillar, etched with foxes, boars, and cranes, was positioned with intent, creating a ritual landscape oriented to the heavens. Lead researcher Klaus Schmidt called it a cathedral on a hill, a central place that drew scattered bands together for shared ceremonies. This required an astonishing level of organization. How did they move these colossal stones without wheels or beasts of burden? The answer lies in coordinated labor and skill, a society capable of planning and executing a project that would span lifetimes. Why would nomadic people invest such staggering effort into a place not for living but for gathering? The answer might be that the need to believe, to create something larger than themselves, was the original foundation upon which civilization was built. This profound connection between spiritual yearning and monumental construction would be replicated across the world, in a city so perfectly planned it feels utterly modern. While the stones of Göbekli Tepe whisper of a spiritual beginning, another blueprint was being drawn on the opposite side of the world, one that speaks not just of belief, but of a profound and lasting peace. In the arid Supe Valley of Peru, the ancient city of Caral rises from the dust, a sprawling metropolis that was already flourishing a full 1,000 years before the Egyptians erected the Great Pyramid. Its design is a masterpiece of intentionality, a city clearly divided into distinct residential and ceremonial sectors, all arranged with a harmony that feels almost modern. The people of Caral did not just build structures, they engineered a society in stone, one uniquely adapted to its environment. They faced a constant threat from earthquakes, and their ingenious solution was a foundation technology known as shikra. These were large, resilient bags woven from local grasses, filled with stones, and then buried beneath their massive platform mounds. This flexible base acted as a shock absorber, allowing the entire city to sway and settle without collapsing, a testament to their deep understanding of the land they inhabited. But the blueprint of Caral was more than just practical, it was profoundly symbolic. The entire city was a physical map of their cosmos. structures were meticulously aligned with celestial bodies and the surrounding mountain peaks, which were themselves believed to be sacred deities watching over the valley. This sacred geometry connected the daily life of the people to the heavens and the earth, reinforcing a universal order. The work of archaeologist Ruth Shady reveals a society that was a nexus of trade and culture, with evidence of maritime exchange reaching distant shores. Remarkably, after decades of excavation, researchers have found no fortifications, no weapons, and no evidence of warfare. The monuments of Caral were not dedicated to gods of conflict, but to commerce and ceremony. At the heart of the city, the central amphitheater temple and the towering Great Pyramid form a complex that likely hosted vast gatherings, not for military triumphs, but for rituals that reinforced social harmony and a shared cosmological vision. So how did the leaders of Caral coordinate such a peaceful, large-scale construction project that spanned centuries without the threat of force? The answer may lie in a shared belief system so powerful and all-encompassing that it rendered large-scale conflict unnecessary. Their collective identity was woven into the very fabric of their city, a daily reminder that they were part of an interconnected whole, from the stars above to the mountains beyond. The immense labor required to build and maintain Caral was likely seen not as a burden imposed by a ruler, but as a sacred duty to maintain balance with the cosmos. This stands in stark contrast to the organized, often militaristic cities that would emerge elsewhere. The blueprint of Caral suggests a different path for humanity, one where the ultimate megaproject was not a monument to a single king, but a testament to an entire community's shared vision for a harmonious world. This model of peaceful, coordinated ambition, however, would soon be joined by another, one that traded celestial harmony for absolute, earthly control. The blueprint for a perfect city was laid out in baked brick more than 4,000 years ago. Walking the streets of Mohenjo-Daro is an experience of startling order. The avenues run straight in a precise grid, with lanes branching off at perfect right angles. Every brick, from the foundations of the grandest structure to the walls of the smallest home, conforms to a single, standardized ratio. This was not a settlement that simply happened. It was a design executed with mathematical precision, a megaproject whose primary monument was the city itself. At the heart of its genius lay an invisible network, a subterranean world of covered drains and sewers that ran beneath the streets, channeling waste away from homes and public spaces. This was urban planning on an unprecedented scale, a civilization-wide commitment to public health and civic harmony. Dozens of public wells were dug throughout the city, ensuring that clean water was not a privilege for the elite, but a shared resource accessible to all. The entire society seemed to be organized around a different set of priorities. While the Egyptians were raising pyramids to the sun and the Mesopotamians were building ziggurats for their priests, the people of the Indus Valley were investing their collective labor in something profoundly communal. Their greatest architectural achievement was not a tomb for a king, but a pool for the people. The Great Bath is a remarkable structure, a watertight tank sealed with natural bitumen, surrounded by cloisters and accessible by a grand staircase. It stands not as a temple, but as a central civic space, suggesting that ritual purity and communal cleanliness were core cultural values. This focus raises a profound question. Where were the rulers? Archaeologists have found no colossal statues of pharaohs, no grand palaces filled with treasure, no vast royal tombs. The power that built and maintained this intricate metropolis for centuries appears to have been vested not in a single god-king, but in a skilled managerial class. Perhaps engineers and administrators held the true authority. Their legitimacy derived from their ability to maintain the complex systems that made urban life possible. The Indus blueprint presents a powerful alternative vision for early civilization, one where the ultimate megaproject was a functional, equitable, and scalable urban model, a template so successful it was replicated across a vast geography. This was a society that chose to build for the many rather than to glorify the one. Yet, this remarkably stable model did not last forever. Its eventual decline leads us to wonder what happens when a civilization's greatest strength, its intricate and interdependent systems, faces a challenge it cannot engineer its way out of. Across the sea, on the windswept Salisbury Plain, another blueprint was being etched into the earth, one written not in clay or stone, but in the very movement of the heavens. Stonehenge did not rise in a single lifetime. It was a project that unfolded over generations, a slow, deliberate dance of stone and sky. Its builders hauled colossal bluestones from mountains in Wales, a journey of hundreds of kilometers, and later erected the mighty Sarsen trilithons that have become iconic. Each phase of construction, from simple earthworks to the final complex ring, reveals a deepening understanding of celestial cycles. The entire structure functions as a massive astronomical calendar, its stones precisely aligned to capture the solstice sun, marking the turning of the years with uncanny accuracy. But the monument itself was just the centerpiece of a far grander design. It was connected by ceremonial avenues to other sites like the vast settlement of Durrington Walls, forming a single, integrated ritual landscape that spanned a huge territory. This was a megaproject on a geographic scale, demanding not just immense labor, but sustained political unity and a shared spiritual vision across a wide region. The sheer logistics are staggering. How does a society move a 25-ton stone across rivers and over hills without the wheel? The answer lies in a culture possessing incredible communal organization and a motivation that transcended individual lives. Recent archaeological work suggests this place may have been a center for healing, drawing pilgrims from across Britain, or a unifying monument meant to bring disparate groups together under a common cosmic order. This raises a profound question. How did these early Britons maintain the precise knowledge, the cultural continuity, and the collective will to see this project through for centuries? The blueprint for Stonehenge was passed down through song, story, and ritual, a sacred trust from one generation to the next. It stands as a powerful testament to a universal human desire, the drive to capture the elusive order of the cosmos in the enduring solidity of stone. This same celestial ambition, this yearning to build in harmony with the universe, would find a different yet equally spectacular expression on the other side of the world. The true monument of Angkor was not a single temple but a sprawling network of water. Beyond the iconic spires of Angkor Wat lay a vast hydraulic city, a megaproject of canals, immense reservoirs called barrays, and ceremonial moats that formed the lifeblood of an empire. This was a landscape completely redesigned by human hands, a blueprint for survival and power etched across more than 1,000 square kilometers of Cambodian jungle. The system was a masterpiece of hydrological engineering, designed to capture, store, and redistribute the torrential monsoon rains. It transformed a region of seasonal deluge and drought into a stable agricultural powerhouse, enabling multiple rice harvests each year. This abundance of food fueled a population of nearly 1 million people, supporting the economic and military might of the Khmer Empire for centuries. The entire city was a reflection of cosmic order. Angkor Wat itself is a stone model of the Hindu universe, with its central towers representing the mythical Mount Meru and its surrounding moat symbolizing the cosmic ocean. The city's grand canals and reservoirs were not just practical, they were sacred extensions of this celestial blueprint, mirroring the divine rivers of the gods on earth. Modern technology has peeled back the jungle canopy to reveal the staggering scale of this achievement. LiDAR surveys show a low-density urban grid of homes, local temples, and ponds, all interconnected by this engineered water network. The construction demanded a profound understanding of topography and a command of mass labor on an almost industrial scale, moving millions of cubic meters of earth to shape the land itself. Such a brilliant system, however, contained the seeds of its own vulnerability. The empire's entire stability was predicated on a predictable climate. When prolonged droughts in the 14th and 15th centuries interspersed with devastating mega-monsoons, the delicate balance was shattered. The very canals that once brought life may have faltered, and the intricate water management that defined the Khmer blueprint could not withstand such profound shifts. This raises a haunting question for our own time. How does even the most advanced human plan fare when the fundamental rules of the environment change? This theme of a civilization contending with its own success and the forces of nature finds a powerful echo in the American Southwest, where another society drew a different kind of blueprint directly onto the land. Perched high on the sun-baked cliffs of Mesa Verde, entire villages seemed to grow directly from the stone. This was not a retreat from society, but a radical reinvention of it. The ancestral Pueblones engineered their communities into the very rock face, creating a breathtaking blueprint for survival in an unforgiving landscape. Their design was both practical and profound, using sandstone blocks, wooden beams hauled from great distances, and a mortar mixed from local soil. They constructed intricate multi-story dwellings that clung to the shelter of massive natural alcoves. At the heart of these vertical towns were the kivas, circular, partly subterranean rooms used for ceremonies and political gatherings. These were not just homes, they were integrated societies in the sky, a testament to a people who chose to build up, not out. This architectural shift around the year 1200 was a deliberate response to a changing world. Researchers suggest that social pressures, periods of drought, and the need for more defensible spaces may have prompted this move to the cliffs. It represents a fascinating evolution of a community's blueprint, adapting its fundamental plan to meet new and urgent challenges. The logistics of such a project were staggering. Imagine coordinating the hauling of thousands of wooden beams and stone blocks up steep, precarious trails, all without the use of pack animals or the wheel. This feat speaks to a deeply cohesive social structure, one where every individual understood their role in a collective endeavor for the good of all. The cliff dwellings were just one piece of a much larger regional design. Across the landscape, a sophisticated network of roads connected these high-perched communities to each other and to vital resources. At Mesa Verde, the Sun Temple stands as a remarkable example of an astronomical observatory, its double D-shaped structure precisely aligned with the solar cycles. This reveals a people deeply connected to the cosmos, weaving celestial timekeeping into the very fabric of their daily existence. Their blueprint was holistic, encompassing shelter, society, and spirituality in one interconnected system. So why did these communities eventually choose to leave their magnificent stone cities behind? The answer is not one of failure, but of profound resilience. After generations of thriving in the cliffs, a combination of prolonged drought and the strain of living in such a concentrated area likely prompted a new migration. They did not vanish, they moved, carrying their cultural knowledge and architectural wisdom to new lands. Their story is a powerful reminder that the ultimate test of a blueprint is not its permanence, but its adaptability. The most ingenious plan is one that knows when to change, demonstrating that the true monument of a society is not always the stone it leaves behind, but the legacy of resilience it carries forward. Deep beneath the sun-scorched earth of ancient Persia, a hidden river flowed in the dark. This was a Qanat, a subterranean masterpiece of water engineering that transformed barren lands into blooming oases for over 3,000 years. Without pumps or modern tools, its creators designed a system that was both brilliantly simple and profoundly effective. They began by locating a water-rich aquifer at the foot of a mountain. From there, they dug a mother well, the deepest point of the entire system. Then, with an almost intuitive grasp of gravity and topography, a team of skilled workers would begin carving a gently sloping tunnel backward toward their settlement, sometimes for dozens of kilometers. The precision required was breathtaking. The tunnel's gradient had to be perfect, just steep enough to keep the water moving steadily, but not so steep that it would erode the channel walls. A slope too flat and the water would stagnate. A slope too sharp and the tunnel would collapse. To accomplish this, they used nothing more than sighting rods and water levels, achieving an accuracy that still earns the respect of engineers today. But the true genius of the Qanat's blueprint lay in its vertical shafts. At regular intervals from the mother well all the way to the final outlet, they dug these access points straight down to the tunnel below. These shafts were not just for digging. They provided vital ventilation, allowed for the removal of spoil, and served as permanent maintenance portals for generations of workers who would descend to keep the life-giving channel clear. This was a megaproject built for the long term, a gift from one generation to the next. The societal impact was immense. A single Qanat could enable an entire city to flourish in the desert. The ancient Persian Empire financed these colossal undertakings, understanding that water was the true source of their power and stability. Wealthy patrons often funded construction as a civic duty, creating a reliable, shared resource that benefited the entire community. This collective ownership fostered a powerful sense of shared responsibility, with water rights and maintenance duties carefully codified into law. The system was also remarkably sustainable. By flowing underground, the water was protected from the relentless desert sun, drastically reducing loss to evaporation. It was kept safe from contamination and even from potential enemies, as the source was hidden and difficult to disrupt. This secure, consistent supply turned arid plains into lush agricultural heartlands, supporting not just survival but the growth of culture and commerce. The knowledge of this transformative technology did not stay in Persia. It traveled along trade routes through the Middle East, across North Africa, and even as far as Spain. Wherever it went, it carried the same promise of life in the harshest of environments. So what does this hidden network tell us about the nature of a truly resilient blueprint? It reveals that the most enduring megaprojects are not always the most visible. They are the ones that work in quiet harmony with the forces of nature, creating a foundation for life that can last for millennia. This principle of sustainable, symbiotic design would be tested to its limits in another part of the world, where the challenge was not a lack of water, but its overwhelming, destructive power. The Nazca Desert holds a gallery meant for the heavens. From the ground, the landscape is a mere expanse of reddish pebbles, but from the air, it transforms into a breathtaking display of colossal art. A monkey with a spiraling tail, a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a spider with impossibly long legs, and geometric forms stretching for miles in perfectly straight lines are all etched into the earth. This was a blueprint of a different kind, one drawn not for human eyes, but on a scale only comprehensible from a divine perspective. The artists of the Nazca culture faced an immense creative challenge. They could not step back to see their work. Instead, they employed sophisticated geometric principles, scaling up small models using a system of ropes and stakes to create these perfectly proportioned giants. This required a master plan held in the collective mind of the community, a shared vision executed with mathematical precision across the vast desert canvas. The construction itself was a monumental act of removal. Teams of workers meticulously cleared the dark, sun-baked surface stones to expose the lighter, contrasting soil beneath. This was not a single generation's effort. It was a megaproject that demanded continuous planning and maintenance over centuries, a sustained cultural commitment to a work of art that the wind and rain would constantly threaten to erase. But why pour so much collective energy into images you could never fully see? The purpose remains one of archaeology's great puzzles. Some researchers suggest they formed a vast astronomical calendar, their lines pointing to celestial events on the horizon. Others propose they were sacred pathways for ritual processions, walked by priests to communicate with the gods. In an environment where water was life itself, the most compelling theory is that these figures were offerings to deities believed to control the rain and rivers, giant prayers for fertility etched permanently into the land. This immense undertaking reveals a society with a powerful, unifying vision and the remarkable organizational capacity to bring it to life. It speaks to a profound human need to create meaning, to leave a mark so significant that it must be intended for a power greater than ourselves. The commitment to such an ephemeral, earth-bound art form is a powerful statement. It tells us that the value of a megaproject is not always in its physical endurance, but in the act of creation itself, in the shared belief that gives it purpose. This same drive to create colossal, spiritually significant figures would be expressed in a very different form on a remote island, where a society faced its own isolation with a breathtaking ambition. The silent, watchful faces of the Moai stand guard over a remote island, their gaze turned inland from massive stone platforms known as ahu. On Rapa Nui, what we call Easter Island, the blueprint for society was carved directly into the volcanic rock. This was not a plan for a city or a canal, but for a landscape of ancestral power. Each colossal statue was a megaproject in itself, an embodiment of a clan's prestige and its connection to the past. For centuries, the entire society was organized around this single, consuming purpose, a competition between rival groups to erect larger and more numerous moai. The quarry at Rono Roroku was the island's beating heart, a hillside workshop where master carvers, using only stone tools, patiently shaped the soft volcanic tuff into these towering figures. The sheer scale of their ambition is still visible today, in the hundreds of statues left in various stages of completion, as if the workshop was abandoned mid-thought. But carving the moai was only the beginning. The true challenge was moving them. How do you transport a stone giant weighing up to 80 tons across miles of rugged terrain? For a long time, the mystery seemed impenetrable. Recent experiments, however, have revived an ancient oral tradition, suggesting the answer was as elegant as it was daring. The islanders may have used a system of ropes and coordinated teams to rock the statues from side to side, effectively walking them upright to their coastal altars. This method would have been a breathtaking display of engineering and synchronized effort, a slow, rhythmic dance that brought the stone ancestors to life. This monumental effort, however, came at a cost that echoes through the ages. The society's focus on statue construction was so intense that it gradually consumed the island's limited resources. Vast forests were cleared to provide rollers and ropes for transport, and to open land for agriculture to feed the growing population of workers. The very isolation that had protected Rapa Nui for so long now became its cage, as there was nowhere to go when local resources grew thin. The story of the island is often told as a simple tragedy of ecological collapse, but it is far more nuanced. It is a profound question about the relationship between ambition and sustainability. How could a people so brilliantly capable of moving mountains of stone fail to navigate the gradual depletion of their own environment? Their legacy is a powerful reminder that the most awe-inspiring blueprints must always be in harmony with the world that sustains them. The Moai still stand not as markers of a failure, but as eternal sentinels of a universal human tension, the drive to create monuments that outlive us, and the delicate balance required to ensure they do not become our final ones. The Andes Mountains themselves became the blueprint for an empire. Across thousands of kilometers of precipitous slopes, the Inca carved a cascading series of agricultural terraces, turning unyielding rock faces into a fertile, life-giving staircase. This was a megaproject on a geographical scale, an act of landscape engineering so profound it reshaped the very mountains to feed a population of over 10 million people. The genius of this system lay in its elegant adaptation to the terrain. Each stone-walled terrace acted as a giant container, preventing precious topsoil from washing down the steep hillsides during heavy rains. But it was far more than just erosion control. This design created a multitude of microclimates. A single mountainside could host terraces at different altitudes, each with its own temperature and sun exposure, allowing farmers to cultivate a stunning diversity of crops, from potatoes and quinoa in the high, cold fields to maize and coca in the warmer, lower levels. At the experimental center of Moai, this principle was pushed to its logical extreme. Here, a series of vast circular terraces sink deep into the earth, creating a temperature gradient from top to bottom that some researchers believe functioned as a massive agricultural laboratory. In this controlled environment, Inca specialists could have tested and developed new crop varieties, acclimating them to thrive at specific altitudes across their vast and varied empire. This entire system was sustained by an intricate network of stone-lined canals and aqueducts that captured mountain spring water and directed it with precision to every level of the terraces. The construction itself was a masterpiece of stonework, with walls so perfectly fitted they have withstood centuries of earthquakes without mortar. To build this empire-wide network, the Inca relied on the mita, a form of labor tax where every household contributed time to state projects. This was not slavery, but a rotational service that built roads, temples, and these very terraces, reinforcing a sense of shared purpose and collective benefit. How did they coordinate such a complex, continent-spanning agricultural system without a written language to record plans or yields? Their success lay in a highly organized administrative structure and the physical network that bound it all together. A vast system of royal roads with relay runners known as chasquis allowed information on harvests and supplies to travel faster than anywhere else in the world at that time. The state's record-keeping relied on the quipu, a complex system of knotted cords that could encode vast amounts of numerical and perhaps even narrative data. This combination of communal labor, brilliant engineering, and efficient administration transformed the Andes into the breadbasket of a continent, proving that the most powerful blueprint of all is one written directly onto the land itself. Stretching over 25,000 miles, the Hypogeum was the backbone of an empire, a stone ribbon tying together coastal deserts, cloud forests, and some of the highest mountain passes on Earth. This was not merely a path, it was a mega-project of pure logistics, the central nervous system of the Inca state. Its primary purpose was control and communication, enabling the swift march of imperial armies, the passage of trade goods, and the movement of a unique messaging system. Relay runners known as chasquis operated in a continuous chain, carrying quippers, those intricate knotted records, and verbal commands from one way station to the next. A message could travel from the far northern reaches of the empire to the capital city of Cusco in a matter of days, a speed unmatched anywhere in the world at that time. The road's design was a masterclass in adaptive engineering. In the highlands, workers laid down paved stone causeways to withstand the harsh climate. Along precipitous cliffs, they carved stairways directly into the solid rock. To cross the deepest ravines, they engineered suspension bridges woven from native grasses, cables as thick as a person, which were rebuilt by local communities as a sacred duty. This incredible infrastructure was punctuated by thousands of way stations or tambos placed a day's journey apart. These provided shelter and supplies for authorized travelers, while nearby storage complexes, the kulkas, held grain, textiles, and weaponry, ensuring the state could project its power and sustain its people anywhere at any time. The road was a physical manifestation of imperial law and culture. Its very existence compelled the use of the Quechua language and reinforced Inca and religious beliefs and social structures across a vast and incredibly diverse territory. How did they secure such an expansive and remote network? Guard posts at strategic choke points and the constant flow of official traffic made the road a monitored space, difficult to use without state permission. This immense project required a different kind of blueprint, one not confined to a single location but mapped across an entire continent. It forces us to ask a fundamental question about the nature of these ancient plans. Were they truly lost, or were their principles simply waiting to be rediscovered, hidden in plain sight all along? The blueprint for civilization in Mesopotamia was written not on clay tablets, but in the very shape of the horizon. Rising from the flat, fertile plains between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Ziggurat of stood as a colossal stairway to the heavens. This was not merely a building, it was a cosmic mountain, a deliberate attempt to bridge the vast distance between the world of humans and the realm of the gods. Its form, a massive stepped pyramid of sun-dried mud brick, was replicated in city after city, a shared architectural language spoken across the land. Each tier, painted a different color and accessible only by a single, steep staircase, represented a different level of the universe, ascending from the mundane earth toward the divine. The entire structure was precisely oriented to the cardinal directions, imposing a sacred geometry upon a landscape that could often feel unpredictable and chaotic. This was the ultimate statement of order, a declaration that human society itself was a reflection of cosmic principles. The construction of such a monument was an undertaking of staggering scale. It required the production of millions of identical bricks, the organization of thousands of workers into specialized teams, and a logistical system capable of feeding and housing this massive labor force for years. The very act of building was a communal ritual, reinforcing the power of the city's ruler, the priest-king who served as the sole mediator between the people and their patron deity. The ziggurat was the heart of a vast temple complex that functioned as the city's true center, managing grain stores, overseeing trade, and distributing resources. It was both a spiritual beacon and an economic engine. So why did this specific form become the universal blueprint for Mesopotamian cities? The consistent, towering design points to a shared ideological vision, a common understanding of humanity's place in the universe. In a world defined by fertile river valleys and the constant threat of flooding or invasion, the ziggurat was a fixed point, a permanent anchor of faith and authority. It was a collective promise etched in brick, a testament to the belief that through shared effort and divine favor, a stable, ordered world could be built from the ground up. Across the Mississippi River, a different kind of pyramid rose, not from stone, but from the living earth itself. At its peak around the year 1100, the city of Cahokia was a thriving metropolis, home to perhaps 20,000 people, a scale that would not be seen again in North America for centuries. Its skyline was dominated by Monk's Mound, a colossal earthen platform so vast that its base covers more than 14 acres, a footprint larger than that of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This was not a tomb, but a towering stage for ceremonial life and a powerful symbol of a highly stratified society. The city's blueprint was one of profound social and cosmic order. Over 120 mounds were carefully arranged around vast, open plazas, with the largest structures reserved for the elite, who lived atop them, literally looking down upon the neighborhoods of artisans and commoners below. This was a city physically divided by status, a three-dimensional map of its social hierarchy etched into the very soil. The entire urban plan was aligned with celestial movements. At the western edge of the Grand Plaza, a circle of massive wooden posts, now called Woodhenge, functioned as a solar calendar. On the equinox, an observer standing at its center would see the sun rise directly over Monk's Mound, a dramatic fusion of architecture and astronomy that marked the sacred rhythms of time for the entire community. The construction of this city was a breathtaking feat of communal labor. To build Monk's Mound alone, workers moved an estimated 55 million cubic feet of earth, carrying it by hand in woven baskets. This was not the work of slaves, but likely a collective effort driven by shared belief, social obligation, or the persuasive power of a rising elite. For generations, people contributed to this growing monument, layer by layer, basket by basket, creating a permanent landmark that symbolized their collective identity and the authority of their rulers. Cahokia was more than a ceremonial center. It was a hub of commerce and culture, with goods from as far away as the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico flowing through its bustling plazas. Yet, by the middle of the 14th century, this flourishing city was largely abandoned. The great mounds were left to the elements, and the precise knowledge of their construction and significance faded from memory. So what happened to this first great American city? The answer is likely a complex tapestry of challenges. A rapidly growing population may have placed unsustainable pressure on local resources like game and timber. Shifts in climate could have disrupted the reliable growing seasons that fed its people. Some researchers suggest that social unrest or a rejection of the rigid hierarchical system may have eventually unraveled the very fabric that held the city together. The story of Cahokia is a poignant reminder that a blueprint, no matter how grand, is not a guarantee of perpetual existence. It is a testament to the incredible heights human collaboration can reach, and a sobering lesson in the delicate balance between ambition, resources, and the social contract that makes such wonders possible. While the stones of Caral rose toward the sky, a neighboring culture was drawing its blueprint in the opposite direction, down into the very earth. The Norte Chico civilization, flourishing along the Peruvian coast at the same time, chose to build not up but in. Their signature structures were vast, sunken circular plazas, amphitheaters carved down into the dry ground, surrounded by platforms of piled river cobbles. To stand in one of these plazas is to feel enveloped by the land itself, part of a communal bowl focused inward. The construction was a feat of reverse engineering. Instead of piling stones high, they first had to orchestrate the massive excavation of these pits, moving tons of earth and stone by hand. Then, using the same shikra bag technology as Caral, they built the surrounding mounds, creating a contrast between the sunken space and the raised platforms that must have been deeply dramatic during gatherings. This was a monumental effort, a clear investment of a society's labor and resources into creating a specific kind of experience. Unlike nearly every other early culture, the Norte Chico left behind no pottery and no elaborate carvings. Their cultural expression was channeled almost entirely into these architectural forms and into one other, surprising medium, cotton. they became master weavers, producing vast quantities of cotton textiles and, crucially, fishing nets. This reveals the engine of their economy. While they grew some food, their true wealth flowed from the Pacific Ocean. Their nets hauled in immense amounts of anchovies and sardines, a renewable and abundant resource that fueled their society and likely formed the basis of a thriving trade network with inland communities like Caral. The monumental centers, with their sunken plazas, were likely the hubs of this exchange, places where a dispersed population would gather not to glorify a warrior king, but to distribute goods, solidify social ties, and participate in rituals that reinforced their collective identity. So why dig down? The purpose of these inverted monuments remains one of archaeology's quiet mysteries. Perhaps the sunken space created a sense of intimacy and shared focus, acoustically containing sound and visually blocking out the wider world to strengthen the communal bond. It may have held a deep symbolic meaning, connecting the rituals within to a subterranean world or to ancestral origins. This architectural choice to define a sacred space by digging it out of the ground proved incredibly powerful. It became a foundational blueprint for Andean cultures, echoed for thousands of years in the design of later plazas and the very kivas of the American Southwest. The legacy of the Norte Chico is not one of glittering treasure or martial conquest, but of a formative idea that a society's most profound gathering place could be an embrace of the earth itself. On the sun-drenched islands of Malta, stone circles hold a silence more profound than any desert. These are the megalithic temples, the oldest free-standing stone structures on Earth, raised over 1,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza was even a concept. Their blueprint is a signature of curved spaces, a cloverleaf design of semicircular chambers called apses, all connected by a central corridor. The scale is humbling. At Giwith, above Gantija, which means the giant's tower, the outer walls are built from colossal blocks of coralline limestone, some weighing over 20 tons, stacked into a formidable barrier. Inside, the walls use a softer, more workable Globigerina limestone, meticulously shaped and fitted together with such precision that the joints are nearly invisible, all achieved without a single metal tool. This was not a haphazard pile of rocks. It was a master plan executed in stone, a sacred geometry repeated across the archipelago. Within these echoing chambers, the rituals of a forgotten people come to life in the details. Smooth altars stand ready for offerings, while curious holes are carved into the walls, perhaps serving as oracles where a hidden priest's voice could resonate as if from the earth itself. The walls are adorned with intricate spiral motifs and carvings of robust figures, symbols that scholars interpret as a deep cultural focus on fertility, the cycle of life, and the great mystery of what lies beyond. The very orientation of the temples reveals a people who watched the heavens with care. At Haga Kim, a specific alignment allows the rising sun of the summer solstice to pierce the inner sanctuary, illuminating a stone slab in a dramatic display of celestial timing. This fusion of architecture and astronomy suggests a society that wove its spiritual beliefs directly into the fabric of the cosmos. The sheer effort required for this purely religious endeavor is staggering. To quarry, transport, and erect these megaliths required a coordinated labor force of hundreds, all directed by a powerful and centralized religious authority. The entire society's surplus energy was channeled into this single, profound purpose, building monuments not to kings but to beliefs. And then, after centuries of this flourishing culture, the temple building simply stopped. The people who raised these stone giants vanished from the archaeological record, leaving their magnificent structures to stand empty. Their disappearance is one of history's great quiet enigmas. Was it a slow environmental change that exhausted their resources, a sudden conflict, or perhaps a societal transformation so complete that it led them to simply walk away from their stone circles? The temples remain, silent sentinels guarding the secrets of a people whose greatest legacy was their faith, etched in enduring stone. Deep within the emerald heart of the jungle, a city breathes. Tikal was not imposed upon the landscape, but born from it, a sprawling urban organism where pyramids pierced the canopy like stone mountains and palaces sprawled across hilltops. The Maya blueprint rejected the rigid grid for an intricate, organic design, a sacred geography woven directly into the living tapestry of the forest. This was a city planned not for efficiency alone, but as a physical manifestation of the cosmos, where every structure held celestial and political meaning. At its core lay the Grand Plaza, an immense public space flanked by soaring temple pyramids and the North Acropolis, a labyrinthine complex of tombs and temples that served as a literal touchstone to the royal ancestors. The city was a continuous megaproject, a work in progress for centuries. Each new ruler, or Kayuhul Ajor, a divine king, sought to cement his legacy by adding his own chapter to the stone narrative. He might commission a new temple pyramid, taller than his predecessors, or a sprawling palace complex with ornate facades. This was not mere vanity. It was a way of embedding the royal lineage directly into the urban fabric, making the city itself a living record of dynastic power. How did they achieve such architectural grandeur? The Maya were master engineers, employing the corbelled arch to create vaulted rooms, covering vast surfaces with smooth, painted plaster, and adorning their buildings with intricate stone mosaics and stucco sculptures depicting gods, kings, and mythic histories. Their urban plan was a celestial map. Temples and causeways were precisely aligned to the movements of Venus, the Sun, and other celestial bodies. A ruler might stage a public ritual on a pyramid precisely as the sun set behind a neighboring temple, a dramatic display of his connection to the cosmic order. The decipherment of Maya glyphs has transformed silent ruins into vibrant stages. We now know these plazas witnessed elaborate ceremonies where kings communed with deities through bloodletting rituals, and ball courts were the sites of a sacred game that symbolized the cycle of life, death, and regeneration, a contest that could have profound political and spiritual consequences. This constant, large-scale construction over centuries required immense resource management. The Maya had no pack animals or wheeled carts. Everything was transported by human labor, a feat organized through a complex system of social obligation and tribute. Labor was likely drawn from the populace as a form of service to the divine king and the community, a collective effort that reinforced social bonds while demonstrating royal authority. The story of the Maya royal cities is one of breathtaking cyclicality. Periods of immense growth and construction, fueled by agricultural surplus and political stability, were followed by periods of decline, often linked to environmental strain, drought, or internal conflict. A city like Tikal was not abandoned all at once, but rather experienced a slow unweaving of the social fabric that had sustained its monumental ambitions for generations. Their legacy is a powerful reminder that the most brilliant blueprint is ultimately sustained by the harmony between a society's vision and the enduring capacity of the world that supports it. Beneath the quiet island of Malta, an entire world waits in the dark. The Saflieni Hypogeum is a three-level labyrinth carved with painstaking care from the living limestone, a subterranean temple complex that took generations to complete. This was a megaproject turned inward, a sanctuary for the departed that mirrored the great stone circle standing in the sun above. Its chambers and arched niches were not built but excavated, meticulously shaped to look as if they were made from massive stone blocks, creating an eerie, inverted twin to the island's megalithic temples. This was not a place for the living, but a necropolis, a city of eternal rest that represented a profound shift in spiritual focus for its creators, from the celestial heavens to the mysteries held within the earth itself. The engineering challenges were immense. To carve downwards, creating multiple floors without causing the entire structure to collapse, required a master plan of breathtaking foresight. The ancient workers left thick pillars of untouched stone to support the ceilings, carving around them to create halls and doorways, a testament to their sophisticated understanding of stability and the properties of rock. Every inch of this deep, dark world was planned. One chamber, known as the Oracle Room, holds a particularly fascinating secret. A small, carved niche in the wall resonates powerfully when a deep voice is spoken into it, vibrating at a specific, low frequency that seems to fill the entire space. This was no accident. It suggests a deliberate and sophisticated understanding of acoustics, an architectural design intended to create an otherworldly auditory experience during ceremonies, perhaps making a priest's voice sound as if it emanated from the stone itself, a direct message from another realm. So what compelled this culture to pour centuries of toil into this silent, underground sanctuary? The answer lies in a transformation of belief. The immense effort reflects a society whose spiritual world was deepening, turning from the sky to the underworld, investing its collective energy not in monuments for the living, but in a permanent, profound resting place for its ancestors. The Hypogeum stands as a stunning monument to this universal human preoccupation, the drive to honor those who have passed and to create a lasting bridge between the world we see and the one we can only imagine. The granite walls of Great Zimbabwe curve and flow like a river of stone, a city built to last without a single drop of mortar binding it together. Between the 11th and 15th centuries, master masons shaped each block by hand, fitting them together with such precision that these monumental enclosures have withstood centuries of wind and rain. This was the blueprint for a capital of immense power, the heart of a kingdom that commanded the flow of gold from the African interior to the bustling ports of the Swahili coast. The city's design was a clear map of its society, divided into distinct areas for the elite, the common populace, and sacred rituals. At its center stood the hill complex, a royal fortress overlooking the valley, while the sprawling valley ruins housed the city's artisans and citizens. But the crown jewel was the great enclosure, a vast circular wall containing the iconic conical tower. This towering structure, solidly filled with stone and rubble, remains one of the continent's great architectural puzzles. Was it a royal residence, a deeply symbolic granary representing the king's provision for his people, or a sacred space for ceremonies that bound the community together? Its true purpose is woven into the stone, a testament to a sophisticated understanding of both power and symbolism. The entire city reflects a complex, highly organized society capable of mobilizing skilled labor for generations. The very existence of Great Zimbabwe, with its scale and intricate trade networks, directly challenges the outdated colonial narratives that once refused to believe Africans could engineer such wonders. This was not an outpost of a foreign culture, but a homegrown center of political and economic genius. So what led to the eventual quieting of this thriving stone metropolis? The answer is likely not a single dramatic event, but a gradual shift. Changes in trade routes, the strain on local resources from a growing population, or perhaps periods of climatic variation, may have prompted a slow migration away from the stone walls. The legacy left behind is not one of failure, but of a monumental achievement in African architecture, a permanent reminder that the most enduring blueprints are those that grow from the land and the people themselves. Beneath the clear, blue water off Japan's Yonaguni Island, the seafloor holds a puzzle that defies easy answers. A massive formation of stone rises from the depths, a complex of terraces, sharp 90-degree angles, and what look unmistakably like steps and platforms. This is the Yonaguni Monument, a sprawling underwater structure that has ignited a fierce debate since its discovery. Is it the work of a prehistoric culture, a submerged city from a time when sea levels were far lower, or is it simply a spectacular trick of nature? For those who see a human hand, the evidence is compelling. They point to the twin megaliths, two massive stone blocks that appear precisely placed side by side. They note the star-shaped markers and a particular rock face that bears a striking resemblance to a human head, features that seem to demand intentional design. If this is a blueprint, it is one of immense age, potentially carved over 10,000 years ago, a time when much of the world's coastlines were dry land. Such a find would force a complete rethinking of ancient Pacific cultures, suggesting a society with the skill and vision to execute monumental stonework long before such feats were thought possible. Geologists who argue for a natural origin, however, present an equally powerful case. They explain that the sandstone in this region is layered and prone to fracturing along straight plains, especially when exposed to strong ocean currents. The seemingly perfect steps and platforms could be the result of this natural shearing and erosion, a geological coincidence on a grand scale. This underwater enigma presents the ultimate challenge for archaeology. How do we definitively separate a human blueprint from a natural wonder when the only witnesses are the fish? The investigation pushes science to its limits, requiring researchers to look for the subtle, telltale signs of human workmanship, like tool marks or arrangements that cannot be explained by any known geological process. The Yonaguni Monument remains suspended between two worlds, a silent testament to either nature's artistry or humanity's forgotten ambition, its true story still waiting to be fully unearthed from the sea. A society's greatest monument can also be its greatest secret. Deep beneath the rocky spires of Cappadocia, entire cities lie hidden in the dark, their blueprints carved not for glory but for survival. These are places like Derinkuyu, a labyrinth descending 18 levels into the soft volcanic rock, a subterranean world capable of sheltering tens of thousands of people along with their livestock and food supplies. This was a defensive megaproject of breathtaking complexity, a fortress turned inward. The planning required a profound understanding of the Earth itself. Engineers carved hundreds of ventilation shafts, some stretching over 100 meters to the surface, to ensure a constant supply of fresh air to even the deepest chambers. They dug deep wells to tap into hidden groundwater, and they designed a network of tunnels just wide enough for people to move through in single file, all leading to communal spaces, stables, wine presses, and even churches. The most chilling feature of this hidden blueprint was the defense mechanism. At key passageways, massive, circular stone doors weighing half a ton could be rolled into place from the inside, sealing off entire sections from any invader. These were not temporary shelters, but self-sufficient ecosystems designed for a community to live in for months, perhaps even years. While early Christians famously used these cities as refuges during periods of conflict, the first levels may be far older, their original architects lost to time. This raises a profound question about the nature of ambition. What does it mean for a civilization when its most immense, coordinated effort is directed not toward displaying power, but toward complete concealment? The underground cities of Cappadocia stand as a powerful testament to a different kind of genius, one born from collective pressure, where the ultimate success was not measured in height, but in depth and in the quiet, enduring safety of the community hidden within the earth. Thousands of granite stones stand shoulder to shoulder in silent rows across the Breton landscape, an army of the past frozen in time. This is Qanat, a megaproject not of a single building but of the land itself. Over 3,000 of these ancient menhirs were raised across more than 4 miles, a coordinated effort that began over 6,000 years ago. The sheer scale is breathtaking, a deliberate pattern imposed upon nature that required a vision spanning countless generations. Unlike the enclosed circles of Stonehenge, the stones of Qanat march in long, parallel lines, a geometric statement of breathtaking ambition. What could possibly compel a Neolithic society to undertake such a monumental and protracted task? The stones themselves offer no written clues, only the silent testimony of their placement. The precision of their alignment suggests a deep knowledge of the land and the sky. Some researchers propose they formed a vast astronomical observatory, their rows carefully positioned to mark the rising and setting of the sun and moon throughout the year, creating a giant calendar for agricultural and ceremonial cycles. Others see a sacred processional way, a pathway for rituals that connected the world of the living to the realm of the ancestors or the gods. The very act of clearing the land and erecting these countless stones may have been a way to channel spiritual energy, to mark a territory as profoundly holy. The effort involved speaks of a society with remarkable social cohesion. To quarry, transport, and erect these stones, some weighing tens of tons, required the organized labor of multiple communities working in concert over centuries. This was not the decree of a single king, but the sustained will of an entire culture, a shared commitment to a vision so vast that no single person could live to see its completion. Why here? The location itself may hold the key, situated on a peninsula where land, sea, and sky meet in a powerful convergence, a place perhaps believed to be a nexus of earthly and cosmic forces. The silent stones of Qanat guard their original purpose closely, reminding us that the most enduring blueprints are often those that bind a community to its land and its heavens through a shared, monumental act of faith. A city of stone sleeps beneath the Kalahari's endless sands. For more than a century, this legend has drawn explorers into one of the most arid landscapes on Earth, each hoping to find the ruins of a magnificent civilization that supposedly mastered the desert. No definitive proof has ever emerged, yet the story persists, a powerful testament to a deep-seated human yearning. This is not merely a search for stones, but for a lost golden age, a blueprint for a perfect society that was ultimately consumed by the very world it sought to command. The legend may be a cultural echo, a distorted memory of real trading centers like Great Zimbabwe, its story carried along ancient trade routes and transformed by time. Alternatively, what early travelers interpreted as crumbling walls and towers could have been the work of wind and erosion, crafting natural citadels from sandstone that played tricks on the eye and the heart. This enduring quest is itself a kind of megaproject, one built not with bricks but with hope and imagination, spanning generations of those captivated by the idea of a forgotten masterpiece. Our fascination with such lost cities reveals a profound truth about our relationship with history. It is a mirror reflecting our own anxieties about the permanence of our creations and the quiet, humbling power of nature. Every story of a civilization swallowed by the desert or the jungle is a reminder of the delicate balance required for human achievement to endure. The search for the unknown, whether in the sands of the Kalahari or the depths of the ocean, connects all these ancient mysteries, binding our modern curiosity to the timeless human drive to uncover the blueprints of our shared past. An army of 8,000 soldiers stands in perfect formation, waiting in the dark for a command that will never come. Each life-sized terracotta warrior possesses a distinct face, a unique expression carved from clay, a silent individual in a vast manufactured legion. This subterranean garrison was the ultimate megaproject of the afterlife, a permanent stone and earth blueprint for eternity commissioned by China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. His vision was not merely a tomb, but a perfect, functioning replica of his entire imperial administration, designed to continue his rule beyond death. The logistics to realize this vision were as immense as the ambition itself. Historical records state that over 700,000 laborers were conscripted for the project, a workforce larger than that of any single pyramid. They worked for nearly 4 decades, not with the slow reverence of artisans, but with the ruthless efficiency of a proto-industrial assembly line. Separate workshops produced standardized parts, limbs, torsos, and heads, which were then assembled and given their unique facial features by master craftsmen before being fired in massive kilns. This was mass production on a scale the world would not see again for almost 2,000 years. The soldiers were arranged in precise military formation within vast, roofed pits covering thousands of square meters, accompanied by terracotta chariots, cavalry horses, and even officials and acrobats, creating a complete cross-section of the emperor's court and military might. Yet this staggering army is merely the guardian of the main prize. The central tomb mound, a man-made mountain that remains scientifically sealed to this day, is described in ancient texts as a miniature cosmos. Legends speak of an underground palace with pearl-studded ceilings representing the heavens, and vast-scale model landscapes complete with flowing rivers of mercury, meant to mirror the great rivers of China. The immense political and personal drive behind this project was the unification of a concept, power, made permanent. Qin Shi Huang had brutally unified 7 warring states into a single empire, standardizing everything from written language to the width of cart axles. His terracotta army and tomb were the final, logical extension of this control, an attempt to standardize death itself and impose his imperial order upon the afterlife. What does such a profound obsession with an eternal blueprint reveal about the human relationship with legacy? It stands as a breathtaking and perhaps cautionary testament to the point where ambition meets immortality, where the drive to be remembered transforms into the desire to never truly be gone. The palace at Knossos was a city within a city, a sprawling stone blueprint for a society that turned commerce into an art form. Its corridors twist and turn, a deliberate maze of administrative offices, storerooms, and ceremonial spaces all orbiting a vast central courtyard. This was not a fortress built for war, but a vibrant economic engine, a testament to a civilization whose power flowed from the sea. The Minoans were master traders, their ships carrying fine pottery, vivid saffron, and precious olive oil across the Mediterranean. The palace was the central processor for this entire network. Its storage magazines held hundreds of enormous clay jars called pithoi, which stored the agricultural wealth that fueled their economy. This was a system of centralized redistribution where goods flowed in from the countryside, were tallied by scribes using their still undeciphered linear script, and then were traded abroad for copper, ivory, and other luxuries. The very design facilitated this constant flow, with ramps and corridors allowing for the efficient movement of people and products. How did such an open, unfortified complex become the heart of a powerful maritime empire? Their security was their economic reach and their cultural influence, a web of trade relationships that made them indispensable. The palace itself was a marvel of Bronze Age comfort and ingenuity. Light wells channeled sunshine deep into the multi-story complex, and advanced plumbing systems provided running water and drainage, with terracotta pipes designed to be easily cleaned and maintained. The walls were alive with art, adorned with frescoes of leaping dolphins, elegant court ladies, and scenes of bull-leaping rituals. This vibrant, fluid art reflects a culture seemingly at peace with itself and the world, a stark contrast to the walled, militaristic kingdoms that would follow. The complex layout, so easy to get lost in, undoubtedly fueled the later Greek myth of the labyrinth, a maze built to contain the monstrous Minotaur. Yet the real mystery of Knossos is not a monster but a disappearance. This sophisticated, palace-centered world thrived for centuries, only to vanish abruptly. The cause remains one of history's great puzzles, a quiet reminder that even the most brilliant and peaceful of blueprints is not immune to the forces of nature or the tides of change. The Great Sphinx of Giza holds a silent challenge to history itself. Resting on the edge of the Sahara, this colossal fusion of lion and human seems to guard more than just a pharaoh's tomb complex. It protects a deep and persistent mystery about its own creation. The conventional story links it to the Old Kingdom pharaoh Khafre, placing its construction around 2,500 years before our Common Era. Yet this attribution is not a closed case. The statue's very body tells a different story to some observers. Geologists have meticulously studied the patterns of erosion on the limestone walls of the Sphinx enclosure. They note deep, vertical weathering channels that appear more consistent with prolonged, heavy rainfall than with the wind and sand of the desert. This kind of rainfall last drenched the Giza Plateau thousands of years before the time of Khafre, pointing to a potentially far more ancient origin. If true, this suggests the Sphinx could be a relic of a pre-dynastic culture, a civilization lost to the deep past whose achievements were later adopted by the pyramid builders. The sheer scale of its construction speaks to a monumental undertaking. Carving the Sphinx was not a matter of adding stone, but of removing it. Workers excavated thousands of tons of limestone from a single natural outcrop, sculpting the massive body from the living bedrock. This required not just immense labor, but a master plan held in the mind of a brilliant architect. The precision needed to shape the massive pores, the graceful curve of the body, and the serene, inscrutable face from such resistant material represents a pinnacle of stone working skill. This was a blueprint executed with breathtaking confidence, a design meant to endure for ages. So what was the true purpose of this hybrid giant? While it likely served as a powerful royal portrait and a potent solar symbol, its alignment and form hint at deeper layers of meaning. The Sphinx gazes precisely due east, directly at the rising sun on the equinoxes, a fact that suggests a profound astronomical connection. Could it have been part of a grander celestial plan, a terrestrial marker for cosmic cycles now forgotten? Or did its leonine form hold a geological significance, a representation of the constellation Leo as it appeared in the sky millennia ago, anchoring the Giza Plateau to the heavens? The statue's missing nose and ceremonial beard are mere surface wounds compared to the deeper mystery of its soul. The Sphinx stands as a permanent reminder that our understanding of the past is always evolving. It asks us to remain humble, to look past established timelines and consider that the blueprints for civilization's greatest works may be far older and far more mysterious than we ever dreamed. Scattered across the globe, a silent language is written in stone. From the misty moors of Britain to the sun-drenched plains of Korea, and from the highlands of Peru to the coasts of India, we find the same architectural forms emerging. Dolmens, those great stone tables, chambered tombs hidden within earthen mounds, and solitary standing stones piercing the sky appear again and again, built by cultures that could never have known one another. This is not a story of a single blueprint passed from hand to hand, but something far more profound, a shared cognitive blueprint emerging independently from the human mind itself. It speaks to a universal urge to take the most permanent material the Earth provides and shape it into something that defies time. Why would a community in ancient Japan and another in prehistoric France both choose to cap two upright stones with a massive third, creating a structure that would require back-breaking effort and precise engineering? The answer may lie in the deepest, most common human experiences: the mystery of death, the awe of the celestial cycles, and the need to mark a territory as sacred all seem to find their natural expression in the enduring solidity of stone. The techniques themselves, while varying in their details, represent a universal leap in collective ability. Whether using log rollers, woven ropes, or earthen ramps, the fundamental challenge was the same: moving the immovable. This required not just muscle, but a shared vision and a social structure capable of organizing that muscle over weeks, months, or even years. The true monument was not the final stone, but the invisible web of cooperation that placed it there. So what does this global pattern truly reveal? It suggests that the drive to build big, to leave a permanent mark, is as much a part of being human as language or art. It is a foundational thread in the story of our species, a silent testament to a shared impulse that connects us across oceans and millennia. Our ancestors looked at a raw stone and saw not an obstacle, but a possibility, a chance to reach for eternity. And in that shared vision, we find one of the most unifying blueprints of all. From the hunter-gatherer circles of Göbekli Tepe to the urban grid of Mohenjo-Daro and the mountain terraces of the Inca, these ancient blueprints reveal a profound and universal truth. The drive to build on a grand scale is not a footnote in our history. It is a fundamental chapter in the story of humanity itself. These were not random acts of construction, but deliberate, planned endeavors that encoded a society's deepest beliefs, its accumulated knowledge, and its highest aspirations directly into the earth. They teach us about the awesome power of a shared vision, the quiet genius of ancient engineering, and the complex, often delicate, relationship between human ambition and the environmental limits that contain it. As we face our own era of unprecedented megaprojects, from the exploration of space to the global effort of addressing climate change, the lessons from these first architects echo across the millennia. Their legacy speaks to the necessity of patience, the wisdom of sustainable design, and the enduring importance of a purpose that serves the collective good. What blueprint, then, will our own civilization leave for future generations to uncover? The story of humanity is not just written in words, but in the very stones we have shaped, a lasting legacy of ambition that continues to both inspire and caution us today.